everyone, it is Dani and welcome to this update video this evening. I trust and hope that you have been enjoying your day. Now we're going to be taking a look at what is happening as it relates to weather conditions across the Caribbean and surrounding areas. As usual, the rainfall forecast, the winds, it's very windy for many of us, as well as the wave heights. But we also want to talk about what is happening beneath our feet down in the crust of the earth. So there's been a couple of earthquakes around. Two of them were magnitude 4 plus. So one was a magnitude 4 and another was a magnitude 4.4. So slightly stronger last night just in the southwestern part of Puerto Rico. So you can let me know in the comments if you felt that earthquake. And then very early this morning there was another that was of magnitude 4 just offshore of the southeastern part of the Dominican Republic. Again, you can let me know if you felt these quakes, and earthquakes are unpredictable, as I always say, so it is best to always have those tips on what to do in the back of our minds, so when they do strike, we know what to do to protect ourselves and even the people around us. So that's the latest on the earthquakes. There was one in the southeastern portion of Puerto Rico, the epicenter, which is the point directly above the focus, which is where that earthquake starts inside the earth. So on the surface of the earth, just above that point, that is known as the epicenter. So again, guys, please stay safe. Those are not quakes to really do any damage. But then as we head towards magnitude 5, magnitude 6, 7, that is really when things start to get serious. Fortunately, we haven't had that in the Caribbean in some time, but they can happen at any time. Now let's go ahead and talk about the weather. So here we are looking at the infrared satellite. There is a front not producing a whole lot of activity, and this is definitely not one that is strong to induce any significant impacts across parts of the Caribbean. So this is a weakening frontal system, and we'll be looking at the temperature anomaly map for that next potential cool down, although unlikely to be widespread across the Caribbean basin. However, aside from that, there are a couple of patches of clouds moving in, especially for the southeast islands, and there's been some showers, some intermittent shower activity across some areas such as Martinique, potentially even Barbados, going towards St. Lucia, St. Vincent. So you can let me know in the comments what the weather has been like for you, but for many of us, it is undoubtedly dry. However, what is helping to offset the heat is the winds. It's been very windy across the Caribbean. So first we're headed towards the rainfall forecast, and then we're moving on to the wind. So go into the rainfall forecast map now. Here we can see it, and it's not looking very colorful for the most part across the Caribbean islands, but over in parts of Central America, sections of Mexico, maybe even Guatemala, Honduras, the Bay Islands of Honduras as well, there could be some substantial rainfall in some areas. So rainfall just below an inch or maybe up to an inch in total, as we're going to be heading through the rest of today and into tomorrow morning. So this map goes into early tomorrow morning, and as we look towards the Caribbean islands, especially the Greater Antilles, it gets a lot drier. We're seeing these gray shadings and a lot of whites around, so maybe just a passing shower at the most during said time frame, even up toward parts of the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos Islands, as well as we can see here. Now going over into the Virgin Islands and the Leeward Islands, it's a similar story, not seeing much color. It's going to be a bit on the drier side. But as we head down toward the windward to Martinique, St. Lucia, even for St. Vincent, the Grenadines, Grenada, and even for Barbados as well, there could be some additional shower activity as all that moisture moves into the bay. It is unlikely that there's going to be any significant rainfall between now and tomorrow morning across the region. Again, as I've mentioned before, we are in the dry season now, which is typically the least amount of rainfall experienced across the Caribbean region. Look into the wind map. Here we can see a lot of these shades of purples and blues, those winds gusting well over 20 knots, maybe even over 30 knots across some areas. So the Lesser Antilles, the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, the ABC Islands, especially in offshore of Colombia, we can see those darker blue shadings as well. So it's been very windy there. Things a bit on the more tranquil side for parts of Jamaica Cuba, going up into sections of the Bahamas, but for the northwest Bahamas into the Gulf of Mexico, and even for parts of Florida, it may be a bit windier with that front within the area. But overall, much of the Caribbean is experiencing those windy conditions, and with that, those waves are also kicking up. So let's go on to that wave height map from GFS. And here we can see, those wave heights up to around 6 or 7 feet, especially on the Atlantic side of the Lesser Antilles and for much of the coast of Barbados as well. Pretty rough seas out there. So as it relates to marine activities, if you will be partaking, please exercise caution and listen to any of your local officials as it relates to that, guys. So please stay safe in relation to that. But we can see some of these more colorful shadings offshore of Colombia, where some of the strongest winds are. So those winds are kicking up, which are helping to influence the wave heights within the area as well. So that is what is going on for the most part across the region, guys. Now, as it relates to the temperature forecast in terms of above or below average temperatures, for the short term in the Caribbean, it is unlikely that there's going to be any substantial cool down at all in the region. Temperatures are likely near or even above average across much of the islands, but that saving grace is the wind, because that is helping to bring some relief from all the heat that we are experiencing, especially those areas which have not been experiencing any overcast skies or even that rainy weather. So the winds are definitely helping out with that. But as we're going to be heading into early next week with that cool down across the U.S., some of that cool air may make its way to parts of the Bahamas, Cuba, and even for Bermuda as well up there, maybe even near the Turks and Caicos Islands. We'll definitely have to see how that goes, but that is unlikely to dip very far into the Caribbean and induce those below average temperatures for most of us. And then as we're going to be heading into the end of January, on the final day, take a look at this. GFS is forecasting that we may see some of these below average temperatures. May not be anything too crazy across parts of the northern Caribbean, the Greater Antilles, and the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos Islands as well. So as I said, it's not a guarantee that this will happen, and that is why I continuously bring you guys these updates to let you know what is happening, what models are showing out there, and I will continue to do just that. So a bit of a spark of hope there for some of us in the northern Caribbean islands. Unfortunately, in the south, it is likely going to remain pretty warm and dry for the most part. But that's it for right now, and I really hope that you guys found this video to be quite informative. However, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. I'll respond to you when I get the chance to do so, and remember to always be weatherwise.